Hi guys, it's Idris here. So today I'm here with a Nirvana deck profile. So quite a few people asking me for my list, and my list is actually quite, not exactly quite, but it's different to what we usually see from others, which you will see in a bit. But I actually prefer this build a little bit more than the one that I actually play tested. So I've tuned it, and this is the final outcome. So without further ado, let's go into the deck profile. Right deck, as usual, Nirvana, Ryu, Reno, and Egg. So this is kind of a basic right line that we use for Nirvana, for Trickster, for Vairina, so that we can get our Trickster, we can get our Vairina, we can just spam with our overdress units and pump them, and then personal ride with Nirvana. So nothing too special, but in like the BTO1 version, I actually use Trickster so that I can get access to multiple Trickster a lot easier. But now I actually prefer to have some drawing power. So I'm using the 8, and I am not that desperate to get multiple Trickster on board that quick. So yeah, 8 is okay. So this is the right line. Nothing too special right here, only the egg. And for grade freeze, of course, we are running 3 more Nirvanas so that we can guarantee our person ride a lot easier. Not exactly guaranteed, but at least makes things easier, because you do need your Trickster to be able to hit your opponent's Vanguard in order for Erger to actually do something. So yeah, just that. Then 3 Valiente. At first, I'm actually using 2 of the Valientes, and then running 2 of the Damaris, the Monk. But I have to say I don't quite like the Monk for a few reasons. One, he needs to attack first, and even though he can actually gain you a retire, but you do need to call your Trickster, and your Trickster need to be good enough to basically can hit your opponent's Vanguard. And what if your opponents only have 1 front row regards? You attack that regard, and then you don't have the retire skill because you are retiring your opponent's front row regards. And if you attack in Vanguard and kill that regard, and they got it defensive, your Trickster attack basically means nothing. So it's kind of a mid to me, even though you can still call Trickster or the Egg as a booster, but you want to use this card is more for multiple attacking, not trying to make yourself more trouble. So personally, I don't quite like this card, so I'm taking him out and using Valiente, because Valiente has a more higher defensive power, a threat to do multiple attacks, forcing opponents some guards, and getting their attentions to get rid of Valiente, because a Valiente on overdress states is at least 18k, and you do need some effort to take him down, even though you do have a lot of cards that can retire units that you can directly clean up Valiente, but at least you're forcing opponents to use those options on Valiente. And especially on a deck like Soldier, they do have to retire, but then the retire order also needs you to like call cards from your drop zone with the same grade, which Soldier usually only plays Soldier and maybe a little bit of Grave Reese if they still got the room. Some use the Dragon, but then you do need to make them to make a tough choice if they want to kill Valiente, because they might not have enough resources to call. So you use the order, they don't call a lot of stuff, and you might be able to survive another turn to direct your opponent's attack to Valiente, so that you survive and take 1 less damage. And next, grade 2s, Erger, new card, and very nice skill that after your Trickster attacks, the Vanguard battle ends. If this card is in your hand and your Vanguard is Nirvana, you can Soul Blast 2 to actually overdress on top of Trickster as stand and then counter charge 1. So you kind of save yourself some counter blast just by doing this, but Soul Blast 2 is actually quite a big cost. And then this card has a permanent skill on Regard and Guardian Circle. If this card is on overdress states, this card gets 10k plus and 10k shield plus. So he can be a 15k shield, which sounds pretty great, but this card also has no resistance or retiring effects. So when Soldier see overdress decks and see your Elgar, they will be so happy. I was using Soldier against a Nirvana deck, and my opponent is like going all out with the Elgar and feeling they are so safe with the extra 10k shield, and then I just use the order to retire them every single turn. And the shield value means nothing, but not every single deck can do that. And then our top tier is still probably like Bastion, still probably like Final Rush, maybe, and of course Office. So facing Office, you can still use Erger as a protection. Facing Final Rush, you can probably still use it because this card is like 20k. It's still kind of big enough that you don't need to throw a lot of shield in order to protect them. But if you are facing like Pyro Magnus, then of course this card will just go into Soul. So do be careful the moment, the timing that you play your Elgar. Don't try to like Soul Blast 4 and double overdress Elgar on the field and think you are safe, depending on the opponent. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So do be careful. This card don't draw your cards, but at least somehow increasing your attack chances. But you do need to rely on Personal Right for Trickster to get into at least 15k, so the Trickster can hit something. That's probably the hardest part for doing the multiple attack, but since they give you some options, there's some risk or some payoff you need to actually give. And then 4 arcs, draw 2 is always still great. Yeah, nothing too much. Even though the 5k on the turn you overdress is also great, but it's only for a turn. The main is still for drawing 2 cards. And probably also baiting your opponents to attack your arcs, because if they see you have arcs, they will afraid you're going to Valiente to become a 23k. That sometimes is quite hard to get rid of if they don't have retiring power or prisoning power. And then 2 of the normal Vairina for your Ryu to pick up, and just simple big attacks. Even just play on the field can just pump 10k from the father. Simple Soul Blast 2 that you can retire a unit. Even though you might want to save your Soul Blast for Elgar, then you need to make a choice. Yeah, there's something you need to consider, but it's kind of free. At least a free 10k on overdress and 10k more from the farmer to reach 30k easy is still a good beater. And I'm running 2 just in case one of them goes into damage before I search them. Yeah, so I don't want to kind of have nothing to search. That's why I'm running 2. Then we are getting into great ones, which will be quite easy and fast. So first, this Toga Shirashi main use to use a right deck, discard this card, put it in Soul, and use a Soul Blast for your Elgar, use a Soul Blast for your normal Vairina, use your Soul Blast on your Ryu skill, when Nirvana right on top so that you can search your Vairina. Basically that. You only are going to discard this card to put in the soul. Hardly you play him on the field, unless you really need to. And then 2 of the Aruna. This is also a new card from the set, and at first I didn't actually pay too much attention to her, but then when I see Trickster need to actually hit Vanguard, and this card when boosting a grid 0 will become a friendly booster, so at least you can pump your Trickster attack to 18k, which create a little bit more threats. This I think is good enough. Yeah, because I do also run a Mirroring to get more souls for all my foreigners, but at the same time, with Mirroring boosting Trickster can only go for 11k, so lacking a little bit unless you're going first, and I don't want to gamble that. So having more options to make sure my Trickster can kind of hit something is great. So you can see the pair right here. And then of course, concluding great ones with 4 PGs. That's nothing too much to say again. And then as usual, we have a 4 Trickster. Just maximize him so that even if some goes to damage, you still have enough to use. Basically just that. And triggers. Over trigger, Dragon Empowering so that you can withstand, because your Vanguard don't withstand by its own. That's all that matters. And then still running 8 crits, 3 draws and 4 heals. Front is probably also an option, and if you really do want to play some fronts, I will probably take out 2 crits for 2 fronts, just for the defensive power. But the crit threat 7 is big enough because all your lines are hitting big, and you just want a lot more pressure. Front is great, but every single attack is still going to hit for 1 damage. So unless you really want that defensive power, I think crit is still a better practice. But triggers is all personal preference, and I probably will also try to use 2 fronts to see how things goes. Maybe if it's more, maybe. But at least for now, having crits only, draws only heals, and then over trigger, I feel comfortable. So that's the trigger lineup. Yeah. So that's basically it for this deck profile, and what you really need to be very careful is the moment you use your Trickster, because you do have a lot of routes to go. For example, you can simply go for a Vairina for a big attack. In the early turns, you can go for arcs to draw, and if you want to do multiple attacks, then you likely want it to be on a personalized states like this, and probably something like this, maybe sometimes. If you're personalized, this can at least save 15k, and you can save your booster. And if that's the case, then you can actually have your Mirroring here or there, depending on where you want to put your 5k to. So say if you already personalized and this is how you fill up your line, that's what you want to do. So first hit for 15k, and then Soul Blast 2 get into a Erger. Then you can still swing, pump 10k on all these, and then see if you got triggers, and then you go this, and then you soul in to pump 5k here, and then swing. So at least you got 4 attacks, which all of them are big, compared to if you go for like monks. Then say if you're still having person right and you have your monks, then now the struggling point is you first attack with your monk right, and you already need to stop last one. And then you get yourself a trickster properly caught on top, right? And then if your opponents get a defensive trigger and you don't have anything to boost your trickster, or you don't have like say they are 23k and you are only 15k, right? Even the mirroring can save you, and you need actually something that is 8k. Or yeah, you just need to pump yourself a little bit bigger in order for this to hit. And this needs to attack the Vanguard in order to activate Erger's skill to overdress on top. So this is one reason I don't like the monk. Even though you can basically go all out with 2 monks and like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 more Ergers, 5, 6, 7. You can do 7 attacks. That is possible, but the risk is too high for your opponents to get defensive trigger. And if you do a lot of stuff and they hit over trigger, then you just stand there and like right? So instead of like doing multiple attacks, which you probably prefer to do it when your opponent is on 5 damage and they probably just step by then, even with 4 attacks, I prefer to have 4 attacks. And I put all my efforts on all my attacks, and even a trickster just swing will just do the job. And if I do want an extra booster, I have my Aruna to pump this at least 18%, right? 28, I think that's good enough. And then just go into Erger when you need. Then if next turn it still survive, then you can see the situation if you actually want to go for a Valiente, or you want to build another line with Valiente. That's up to you. Yeah. But if you do want more soul charging, you can try for more mirroring, but then make sure you don't put the mirroring behind Trickster during the turn you want to do that, because it's likely not going to hit with your personal ride. It's only 11k, can probably only hit your regard or opponent's regards, and sometimes you can't even hit anything. So that's also a reason why I'm using Aruna. Yeah. So I think that's all I need to say about this deck profile. Feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, just try it out, have fun. And with new support, I think the deck is less boring. At least you do need to think a little bit more on how you're planning your attacks, how many multiple attacks you want to do, and depends on that how you can change your deck build. I think that's a lot more interesting. Yeah, so thanks for watching guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.